Namaste, Babaji.
Namaste Ram. How are you? Jai Shri Ram.
We'll just start with the Guru mantra. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru
Sure.
Devo Maheshwaraha. Guru Reva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guru Namaha. Ekam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim. Yat Krupa Tamaham Vande Satchidananda Madhavam. Thank you, sir. Thank you for making time for us, for the little group in New Zealand. We are really very lucky to be blessed by your presence, even though it's remotely. And soon we are hoping you'll be here in the midst of us. Thank you.
So tell me, um, is New Zealand closed or flights are coming and going?
Yeah, the flights are coming and going depending upon where you are, but it's mainly chartered flights. It's not
Not yet open.
completely open.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll think about that then later. So we can start.
Good, you're ready to come then. That's good.
I'm always ready to go anywhere. You closed down in New Zealand. What could I do? So this is going to be an interaction. So do you have any questions?
So I have about 12 to 14 questions that people have sent me. So shall I start?
Yes.
So I've got question one, Danya from Auckland. So she asks, can I exist in harmony with everything without essentially belonging to particular groups and following norms and patterns? This according to me is a simpler and happier way of existence. Am I missing out on something? I'm tired of people blindly following rituals and norms and indirectly pressuring others to do so.
Right.
So I find immense pleasure in simple things like making a child smile or being with family and helping others. That's it. Yeah.
That's fine. There's no harm, no problem in doing that. In fact, I would be the first person to advise you not to become blind followers of anybody. I appreciate the thought of being free. I have never been bound, I've always been free. But my connection with my teacher, Maheshwarnath Babaji, was one of complete friendship and openness. I didn't follow him, rather I agreed with him and cooperated with him, let's put it that way. So when somebody wants to be, see, ultimately, the whole of the spiritual search is to find freedom, is to find nirvana. What is moksha? Freedom. And what is kaivalya? Being untouched by anything, alone. Nirvana again is freedom. So sometimes I wonder with Dhanya, yes, I wonder with her if any kind of bondage can lead one to freedom at all. Even if it is a bondage with the teacher. How? You begin in the wrong note of bound, and then where do you reach the freedom that you're looking for? I therefore think that the spiritual life begins with freedom. The search begins with freedom, and the search is for freedom. And therefore, to say that if a teacher says, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that, I don't follow that kind of path. I allow people in different ways, in different communities, different ways of spiritual discipline, if they want to. If you don't want anything at all, and if you like, as she said, to see the smile on a face of a child, I would say not only see the smile of a child, but try to bring about smiles in more little children. Because by good action, which is called Karma Yoga, you can still move spiritually until you come to a certain state from where, if you feel like it, you can take up the practice. There is no compulsion. Absolutely. And I'm not saying that anybody should follow me at all. That was a good note to start with, that question. You don't have to follow me. You have to follow your search. And when you have doubts and problems, I'm there to help you because I have walked on this largely unexplored territory. And I probably can say and help you find where the pitfalls are and say, look, watch out. Don't go this way, move straight. But you're free to experiment. If you're ready to fall into pits and experiment for yourself, it's up to you. I have no problem there. But from my understanding, I'm always ready to help and guide, not impose. And also, in our teaching, in what I do, we are completely free from that concept that if you leave me and do something else, which somebody else says, you're going to be cursed. I don't think any person of spiritual stature can curse. If the person curses, he cannot be spiritual. Even if you curse, I should be able to hug you and say, hey, that's okay. Can you imagine a spiritual master cursing somebody? It's not possible. So I think that's about food for thought for the lady who asked the question. So it's food for thought. It's not an instruction. Think about it and get back to us whenever you feel like it. Yeah. Now we can move.
Yeah, thank you, Babaji. And the next question is from Suresh from Auckland again. So his question is about the mind. Where is the mind located? Are we inside the mind or the mind inside us? I understand that the mind is very subtle, but if we were to visualize it for meditation, what or how can we visualize it as? I visualize the mind as a lake and thoughts as gentle ripples on the wave, and visualize the lake being silent with every breath. So do we have many minds that work together as one, or one mind that does everything? And he wants to know whether his practice is good or does he need to change his practice?
Okay. Now, this question of the mind is a big subject. It's, I don't know, we can handle it in 5-10 minutes, but still, let's look into it since the question has come. What is mind for us normally? Can you conceive of a mind when there is no thought? Can anybody conceive of a mind? Even to say, is there a mind, there is thought. So, which means, as long as there is thought, there is mind. You can't think of a mind without thought, because the very fact, now I am without thought, is a thought. You cannot have a mind if there is no thought. Thought is the basis of the mind. Now, from the biological point of view, all thought, do we think with the toe or with the thumb or with the brain? I know some people think with certain organs of their body because they are so emotional. But generally, we think with the brain. So, practically speaking, biologically, the source of thought, which is the mind, is the brain. At the moment, we know of no other source, okay? At the moment. Thought, since thought comes from the brain, if you're unconscious, you cannot think. So, which means why? The brain is not functioning. So, thought proceeds or is initiated by the movement of the electric charges between the neurons. Understood? This is thought. And as long as you think, the brain exists. Now the question is there thought beyond the mind? That is the question. I think that's roughly what you're trying to figure out. I would say that, you look, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Patanjali defines yoga as yogas chitta vritti nirodha. Now, does that mean that you should stop the complete functioning of the vrittis or the movements of thought. No, it means to be free of the distractions and the tension between two opposing thoughts, and also the distractions caused by thought. So, chitta vritti nirodha. Vrittis are the movements of thought in the mind at the moment, let's say brain. And when that stops, the whole process of meditation, yoga and so on, is to calm it down so that there is hardly a ripple. As our friend said in the beginning, a ripple-less. But that ripple-less is still part of thought, not beyond thought. But when the mind has, through practice and through understanding the process, reached a state of no tension whatsoever, no distraction whatsoever, when that mind is calm, it has no self-centered thoughts, no fear, nothing to achieve and so on. When the mind reaches that state, it's completely quiet. It's still there, but it's quiet. I can also say that then the brain is very quiet. When the brain is quiet, something else takes over, and which is what we call the true mind, the real mind. You can call it Atma if you like. And from our point of view, that there is only one such mind or one consciousness. It's not the brain consciousness, not the thought consciousness. It is that from which it proceeds. All these things proceed. It's the base, the ocean from which these waves come and go. That there are not many, there is only one. When the human mind, limited human mind, frees itself of all distractions and all tensions and becomes calm, then it loses its little identity, and then there is only the big identity of the mind in toto. You can call that mind consciousness then, not with its distractions and its desires and tensions and fear. Then it's an ordinary mind. Then it is the brain that is functioning. When the brain is quiet, not desiring anything, settle down its own quietness and calmness, then there is the pure consciousness operating. Now when you touch that, you realize that it is that pure consciousness that is also operating to your brain through, let's say that, okay, let me put it another way, if it is difficult for you to understand this. I'm sure many of you understood, but still. Look at an emotion like fear. Emotion is also thought. You can't have an emotion without thought. Well, when your emotion becomes so high, sometimes there is no thought working there. We won't go into that right now. Suppose the emotion of fear. I'm sure everybody knows this, what fear is, right? Roughly, in your own way. You're afraid of something or the other. Something. Are you afraid of me? No. You're afraid of something or the other. So, fear is a common element. Now, your fear may be different from my fear. I may fear COVID and you may fear something else. No, actually, I'm not afraid of COVID. I don't know. What I mean is, I may be afraid of my wife, but you may not be afraid of your wife. It may be something else. I'm not, I'm joking. She's going to see the video, so. All I'm trying to say is that each person has a fear for something. It may not be the same thing. Your object of fear may be different from my object of fear. But fear is a common factor, right? What you're afraid of is not the question. Fear is a common factor. Okay. In the same way, anger. You may be angry with something. Your reason for anger may be one thing, my reason for anger may be something else. But anger is a common factor. So if you look like this, anger, fear, jealousy, greed, it's a common factor. How it manifests in different people differs, but it's a common. So may I say that it is all one mind, which has anger, fear, jealousy, love, affection, everything. And it manifests in different people through different centers. So when you touch the essence of it, which is beyond ordinary thought, which is beyond the distraction of thought, then you touch that consciousness, which is whole. W-H-O-L-E, not H-O-L-E, which is whole. And in that wholeness, what you see is that it is one consciousness that is acting to different centers, different human beings, even animals, different others, even inanimate objects. How does the electron know how to jump from one shell to another? It has no brain, but it does. So this consciousness is in everything, but you can touch that consciousness only when the mind is free of distractions. So there are different yogic techniques have been worked out, different thought processes have been worked out, how to make the mind free of distractions. And one of them, which was suggested by a friend today who asked the question, what's his name? Suresh. So,
Suresh.
yeah. So one of the methods of, you can find your own way. We have different ways of meditation. So like you said, I like to sit quietly and think that the ocean's waves have subsided. There is not a single ripple. Everything is, it's a good way to do it. There's no harm in that at all. You don't have to be initiated into it, because the word initiation means to initiate a practice. It doesn't mean whispering in the dark into your ears. It means initiating a practice, starting something. That's called initiation. It's called diksha in Sanskrit. Diksha means derived from the root dig, which means direction. That means somebody is being directed. It has nothing to do with mysterious whisperings in the dark. Please, get out of all that is mysterious. The sun shines on us. It is not mysterious. It gives light to everybody equally. If anything is too mysterious or dark, run away. That's my advice. Everything is open like the sunlight. Okay, next question.
So the next question is from Jitu from Toranga. So he's asking, why and what in relation to existence are the two questions that have always come to my mind since I was a kid. While passing these years, I've worked to have a better version of myself, but still these questions are still popping in my mind. In what stage will I be able to ask no questions? I'm curious about how valid these questions are in your life as a realized being. And Prajesh also.
Are you sure I'm a realized being? Anyway.
So just relating to that, Prajesh has also asked, how does Sri M as a realized being see the world and act?
Can you tell me the two questions, Ram? Can Jitu tell what are his two questions which keep coming?
So why and what? Why are we here and what should we do, I guess? So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Look, that's a fundamental question. Why are we here? Have we ever thought about why we are here? Why do we lead our lives? Why do we grow up from childhood? Why do we eat certain foods and love it? Why do we want to have a partner? Why do we want to get married? Why do we want to have children or not married at all? Why do we ask for these things? That is the basic question. Why are we looking? What are we looking for? Now, it's very simple. I don't even have to tell you, look at life carefully. Everybody is looking for two things. And the two things are interdependent. One is happiness. Nobody is looking for sorrow. Even one is ready to go through any amount of sorrow if there is happiness at the other end. Right? So we are looking at happiness. Also, we are looking at expansion. We're not, I'm alone, suppose. I'm a bachelor. Nothing against bachelors, please. I'm alone. I was a bachelor many years. So I'm a bachelor. I am happy, kind of. Then I feel, look at these other guys. They seem quite happy when they have a girlfriend or a wife and they get married. So perhaps there is happiness out there. So I expand. So it's basically this, the single cellular organism with one cell, like the amoeba. I think it also seeks happiness by dividing itself into two. What is called binary fission. It may not be the kind of happiness we think about. It may be a different way. So it splits and becomes two. Here, we are one and we want to become two. How? So we get one more person into our fold. So now we are two. So we share our happiness with each other. Well, very often we have to share sorrow also with each other. Not always rosy. I'm a married man. I know my life. Not always rosy. So sometimes there are difficulties. It's normal. So, what we are seeking is expansion and happiness. Then I think I may be happy if I have a child because I know I'm going to die at some point, physically, as a body. So what will extend after my death? My children. There's an extension. And perhaps they will enjoy. So again, it's the thought to expand, to grow. The whole of evolution is a movement towards greater happiness and greater growth. Whether it works or not, that's a different story. The inbuilt movement is that. Look at our brains. Started with a single cellular organism and today we have a complex brain which is perhaps the most advanced brain system available with us today in this world. What is that? Growth. And because of the frontal lobe's expansion, we today enjoy many more things in life, see many more things in life. Our perceptions have improved. I would say there are much more to see, which we don't see generally, because certain parts of our brain is still not functioning properly as required. But this is the aim of life. Unfortunately, we think that by gathering things together, we can touch that happiness which we seek and the expansion that we seek. The rishis who went into it said, you need to only turn and look within yourself. You'll find what you're looking for outside. That's not being selfish. Because unless you find it yourself, how can you tell it to somebody else? How can you bring somebody else into it if you don't know yourself? So, the great weaver saint in Banaras, whose name was Kabir Das, said something very interesting. He said, in the Himalayas, we have a particular kind of deer called the Kasturi deer, musk deer, M-U-S-K, musk. Kasturi mriga, it's called. A musk is produced by this deer in a little gland under his belly in a particular season every year. Basically, the fragrance is meant to attract the female. They're not different from us. We also spray musk, right? I don't know why we do it, but... So, but the deer does it for this. So, when the musk is produced in that particular season, the fragrance is in the air, wafting in the air. It's beautiful. Kasturi, we all know Kasturi. And the poor deer, not knowing the origin or the source of this fragrance, keep looking for it everywhere in the forest. poking its snout into thorny bushes, bleeding, not knowing that this fragrance is coming right under my belly. That's the source. So Kabir said, while the aim of all life is to expand, to grow, to find happiness, what we miss is we think it's somewhere outside. It is right inside when the mind is quiet, calm, balanced, and without ripples. I know I'm stretching this question a bit, but it's a very interesting question. So I'm going to go a little more on this, please. Sorry, Ram, is it okay? I'll give you another example. Look, this is not in any way. I'm not telling you to leave everything that you have, your careers, and take. No, no, no. I also live a life. See, this is the library where I am sitting. It's my library, where I also paint. You can see a canvas at the back, if you see it. Yes, it's blank today because I haven't started anything. I'll give you another example of what you seek, what one seeks in life. Suppose I desire a beautiful, I was about to say girl, no, car, let's say. I desire, if I say beautiful girl, I might be misunderstood. So, people will think at 70, this guy is still looking for. So, I desire a beautiful car. So, I have set my standard. I said, I must get this particular car. Then I work hard for it. I beg, borrow, not steal, beg, borrow, and so on from the bank. And there is this in my mind, this dissatisfaction until I see the car in my garage. Yeah? Then one day, I get it. Go to the showroom and I proudly drive my car and bring it to my garage and I park it there. I take out the keys and take a look at it. Nice. I'm happy. Now, for some days I'm quite happy. Until I see that the neighbor has a Rolls Royce. I got myself a Lexus, but the neighbor has a Rolls Royce. So there the problem starts again. Some people don't, but in many people. Okay, the next is that. But for that short time when I acquired the car, which I wanted, not the Rolls, I was quite happy. My mind was peaceful, very happy. The question the yogis ask, is the mind happy and satisfied because it has acquired the object that it desired, or is the mind happy and satisfied because for a short while it's free of craving? Look at it this way. When I have acquired the car, at least temporarily, for a while, there is no more craving for the car, right? When there is no craving, the mind is happy. Then the next craving starts again, then it again becomes agitated. So the yogi's understanding is, what is making the mind happy and calm and tranquil and peaceful is the cessation of this temporary craving. Now, suppose you have found the jewel inside, what the Buddhists called Mani Padme Hum, jewel in the lotus. If you have found the jewel inside, if you have found the musk under your belly, like the musk deer, then the craving has ceased. And you are settled in happiness, which you are already seeking in many ways. Not only happiness, but also the expansiveness. A man in the public, a politician feels very happy because his mind is expanded to the complete public that is standing in front of him. It's all shared, right? So it's one that is spread around and shared. So, the desire that we have. And then the last question was, how do I feel about this? Well, once you have touched that light, suppose you have, I don't know, maybe I'm not self-realized, please. Suppose I have at least found that there is a light inside me, suppose. And seeing the light, I open my eyes and I see that this is the same flame which is in everybody, even though they don't see it. I see it. Closed eyes. I open and I see it outside. The person outside may not see it, but I see it. Suppose I see it. And I am worried, why is it kept closed? Which is why I teach. Can you wipe that glass around it? The chimney you have put, can you wipe it? It's become full of smoke. But I see the light in everyone. That's the answer to your question, how do I see the world? The light is there, but it needs to be, the flame needs to be, I don't know what to call it, increased. That's how I see it. And that's not always unalloyed joy, because sometimes there is sorrow that somebody doesn't see it. In a way, you feel sad. It's so simple. Why are people doing all acrobatics for it? Just see it. It's a simple fact. I'm not advising you against practicing yoga is good. No. I have been doing it from the age of 10 till today. Perhaps my body survived healthfully because of that. Because with a healthy body, it's easy to have a healthy mind. And a healthy mind is essential to go into the questions of life. Thank you. So can we move to the next question?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So next question is from Prajesh from Nelson.
Yep.
You can see. So he's asking, does the Sishya, the seeker, find his guru, or does the guru find his Sishya? Is it not important for the seeker to feel or a sign of the presence of his guru during the dark days of the soul, during the spiritual journey? When I say the dark days of the soul, it means that when you really contemplate and go really deeper, it brings a big fear and you will feel nothing around could save you, and you will feel everything was a thought, and that even a guru outside of you is also a thought. So then the only help you could trust or be with is the guru within the inner force. So is it not important for a seeker to feel that inner guru at least once?
Do you feel it? Is the question. Sometimes. You do. Yeah. So if you do, then it's a good thing. But to your question whether you need an external guru, I would say generally one needs somebody who has walked on the path and who has some idea of where you could have pitfalls and so on. But the function of an external guru is to take you to the point where you see the inner guru. Once you have touched that, then there is no need for an external guru. Not that you should kick him out or anything, but actually there is no function, because ultimately the true spiritual teacher is the supreme reality himself, itself. I don't even want to say himself, itself. Because you can't say male, female. So, the great mantra which has come to us from the Vedic times, Brahmanandam Paramasugadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim, means the Supreme Guru, Satgurum Tam Namami. That Guru, that Supreme Guru I bow down to, who is the supreme reality, the all-pervading supreme Brahman, the consciousness. This is the true Guru. The only function of the ordinary physical Guru is to tune you up to that and say, here you are inside. And then the importance ceases, although you respect the teacher because he has brought you there. I'm not saying you should disrespect the teacher, but the function of a Guru is to take you up to the point where you find the inner guide in your consciousness. When this is done, then I personally think you should be allowed to be free. Go. Fend for yourself now. When I got too attached to my teacher, Maheshwarnath Babaji, he's done it a couple of times to me. He used to throw me out. Because he say, you got too attached to this figure, get out. First time he said, get out, I thought I was going to die. But then I realized what he was trying to do. So, I also think so. Yeah, during the dark night of the soul, as you said, do you need a guide? Even then the guide is inside you, the light. But if you're satisfied with somebody physically outside who is helping you to reach that, stay connected. Ultimate is to find the inner. Right? Okay? Proceed. Ramji.
Oh, so the next question is from me, just following on
Oh
from
my God, from you.
for everybody.
Okay.
Okay, so the death experience of Ramana Maharshi was followed by the constant experience of bliss or Turiya. So, and when you met Narayan Guru, you heard the words Anandoham, Achaloham, which was constantly emanating from his being. So, Babaji, some of us might have glimpses of this state. Therefore, I would like to know whether it was a sudden change, like for Ramana Maharshi in your case, or was it a gradual process for you? And is there any practice you would recommend for people who have had glimpses of the Turiya state? Thank you.
This is a very big question, Ram. First of all, I am not comparing myself to Ramana Maharshi or anybody or Narayana Guru or anybody else. Let's make that plain, okay? The other is about Turiya. Two important things, topics. Now, since you started with the Ramana Maharshi's experience, let me tell you, you would know this. Everybody who reads his life would know it, that Ramana Maharshi did not have a guru. At least we don't know. He did not have a teacher. Maybe in his past life. But now, right in this life, he did, even though he met a couple of people, but you can't say he accepted them as his guru or that they accepted him as a disciple. There is no record of that. So in Ramana Maharshi's case, since you mentioned it, it seems that he has, in the past, at least, otherwise it is not logical at all, done a lot of sadhana, done a lot of things, and he came back in this particular life almost free, but for a small little turning that was required, one screw. Just one screw was loose, that had to be tightened. Or I will put it this way, one screw had to be removed. Actually, all of us are a little loose in the screws. In his case, without doing any sadhana, anybody who has read his life or known about it knows this. He didn't do any sadhana. At the age of 14, 15, one night he was lying down quietly and he said, I'm going to die. Suddenly it's not the fear of death, the thought of death totally took over him. Not fear. Fear of death, you'd open the door and run out. No, he lay down. He said, okay, I'm going to die. If I'm going to die, this is how the dead body lies. And then he suddenly realized that while the body is like a dead body and dead, he was not dead, he was alive. That set him thinking, if the body dies and I am still alive, so who am I? What am I? Am I this body? That was the beginning of his contemplation in this life. So he left home and he wandered to quiet places. He went to Tiruvannamalai. Somehow he went there and meditated for a long time without talking to anybody because he thought it was pointless to talk about this. You're trying to find something within you. What's the point of talking to somebody? So he sat in Skanda Ashrama gufas and various places until one day he opened his eyes and said, I know my true identity. I am not this body or the mind or the different koshas described in Vedanta. I am pure consciousness. He discovered it by himself. The problem is everybody cannot discover it by themselves. While the idea can be discovered and thought about, the actual experience has to come only one has traveled quite a great deal in the spiritual path. In Ramana Maharshi's case, I would say it would have happened before, otherwise it couldn't have culminated in this life at the age of, say, 20. That he suddenly found out, okay, here I am. This is what it is all about. There's nothing else to talk about. And in fact, you will know that he hardly spoke. He just kept quiet because the experience which cannot be expressed in words, as the Upanishad says, yat vacha anabhyutitam, that which words cannot describe. What will you do then? Sit quiet. There are some stupid people like us who go on talking, but he decided, let me sit quietly. That's enough. And if somebody asked him a question, he would say a one-line answer to it. So the other thing you should notice, nowhere in none, almost 99%, unless you have seen somewhere, in any picture you see Ramana Maharshi with closed eyes. Open. Why? Because there was no inside and there is no outside. Once that experience happens, once that takes place, then there is no inner or outer. Both are the same. What is inside is also what is outside. Or put it the other way if you like. Because this whole world is created by impressions gathered by our mind. When those have subsided, inner and outer are the same. Yeah. Now that state could be called Turiya. Okay. Now, what is the traditional definition of Turiya according to the Upanishads? We can't go back anymore. You can go up to the Upanishads. Beyond that, okay. The Upanishad says, Mandukya Upanishad says, one of the principal Upanishads, that Turiya is the state when, I don't know how to put it. Let's describe. Now this is going to become long. Mandukya discusses the three states of human consciousness. One is, we all know, waking state. Is anybody sleeping out there? Is it so boring? No. I'm sure we are all in Jagrata Avastha, awake state, Jagrati, which means awakening. So one state which is common to all and which we are all familiar with is Jagrat. Then we have the dream state, Swapna. That also we are familiar with. We all have dreams at night. We also daydream sometimes, but definitely in the night. So, Swapna. Then the third is, according to the Upanishad, Shushupti. Now, Shushupti means deep sleep without dreams, where in dreams there is still cognition. We cognize the dreams, right? But in deep sleep, there is nothing. There is no outer world. We don't know anything about the inner world. There is no inner cognition, no outer cognition. There is a restful state where we don't even know if we exist. And in that state, everybody is equal. The boss and the laborer both sleep. In deep sleep, they're equal. The boss doesn't know he's the boss, and the worker doesn't know he's the worker. He's on ecstasy of sleep. Which is why if you miss sleep, we get mental problems. Because that is the source from which all energy comes. The state of deep sleep. You know, the maximum medicines sold in this world are those for sleep, sedatives and tranquilizers. Because everybody wants it. You can't do without it. It's so precious. This is the Shushupti, the third stage. Now, even though we are not aware of ourselves during this deep sleep, it looks like there is something who is experiencing the deep sleep. Why? Because when we wake up from a wonderful deep sleep, we always say, ah, that was so blissful. And it is so blissful that even if your alarm rings 10 times, you would rather put it off and sleep a little more than wake up. Why? Because it's so blissful. When you wake up, you know, oh, that was so blissful, that sleep. In fact, in the half state of wakefulness and sleep, it's also blissful. That's why you want to go back, turn around and sleep again, pull the blankets. So there is, someone has been watching this sleep, even though you are not aware of it at that time, who wakes up and says, wow, that was great, that sleep. It was so blissful. Now, the exact Vedantic word Turiya, which is given in the Mandukya Upanishad, comes after Shushupti, deep sleep, and the contention is, suppose in that wonderful bliss of deep sleep, you are aware of it. Suppose. It's not possible normally. Suppose there is an awareness of it in you. That is Turiya. So, unfortunately, one cannot reach Turiya through deep sleep. That would have been great. But this example is given only to show you that it is a state which is similar to deep sleep, but in which there is awareness at that point, not when you wake up. So there, now you see, it's all in us. It's not from outside. We are the important people here. It's in us. It's not outside. So that is Turiya. Since you asked me the word Turiya, that's what it means. And perhaps I would say, since we started with Ramana Maharshi, perhaps he experienced Turiya. I think he did. I'm using the word perhaps because there's always a good idea to put a little doubt in. Because it's only through doubt that inquiry starts. If nobody had any doubt, there would be no inquiry at all, of any kind, even in science. And what we are talking about, the subject we are dealing with, is entirely scientific. Let me put it this way. There is nothing irrational out here. As long as you don't cover it with something irrational, it's not there actually. It's for all of us to find out for ourselves. So yes. Can we proceed? Any more questions from you, Ram?
Yeah, the follow-up was, if we are going into those thoughtless states, and I was asking for you whether it was a sudden thing like Ramana Maharshi. Yeah.
Right, I forgot. I missed the point, yes. I don't think even for Ramana Maharshi it was a sudden thing. One day it hit home, kind of, yes, I cannot be the body. Yes, that was only the start of the journey. And then he spent many years consolidating it. Otherwise, he could have immediately become I know it. But then he was meditating for many years here and there in quiet places. So he was consolidating the experience. So it's not like a big bang. A small bang is essential to wake you up. And then after that, it grows on you. And the wonderful thing about this, my experience, is that there is no end to it. Um, Everything else has an end. Like I want this beautiful vase here, gifted by Shalini to me. If I get it, then it's the end. I've got it, unless it breaks, of course. But here, it's so endless and infinite that every day the mind is growing into a different realm and experiencing something which is beyond. So that difference is there. So for me, it was like that. That's all I can say. About Ramana Maharshi, I can only speculate. But as far as I'm concerned, it started with one swift, I would say, I got a break. And then from there it went on. And even today, it's going on. I can't say it is over and finished, and if it is over and finished, it must be a physical object. It's as if in every cell something is going on. That's all I can say. I don't know how to put it. Even the rishis of the Upanishads found it difficult to say what it was. Oh, how can I say it? I mean, they said, na vidmo, na vijanimo, yatha etat anushishyat. I don't know how to explain this to you. You have it and you have it. You know it.
So the experience itself takes you deeper and deeper into the deeper states.
You can put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there is one turning point, and after that, it grows on you. If you are humble enough, unless you say the break, this is all there is to it, then it's finished.
Thank you very much, Abaji. I think since we are on a roll, I'll ask you another question. I think it's a deep question. Going to your experience in the Dakshineshwar Kali temple, please talk about the significance of the image of the Kali with her one leg resting on Shiva. And please talk about your experience described in your autobiography. Was this Bhava Samadhi? Is this different from the Samadhi described in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras?
Now, the Patanjali Yoga Sutra is a basic textbook on yoga. So, if you need to use it as a, as a criteria for all the spiritual experiences varied that different yogis have had at different times, it would only take you up to the level of saying, when all the vrittis of the chitta are calm, the mind is opened up. I mean, up to that. Okay. Then you have the Vibhuti Pada. This chapter in Yoga Sutras of Patanjali which describes what happens to a person who has kept his vrittis cleared from the mind. Some extraordinary things can happen, and the experiences I describe in my autobiography are part of that. But they are not the end of life and spiritual achievements. These are things that happen on the way as you carry on with life, with your spiritual life and your journey. As far as Kali and the Dakshineshwar is concerned, in Tantra, the supreme energy, which is the primordial energy which activates this world, when it is not active, then it is Shivam. When it is in complete balance, calmness, quietness, then it is Shivam. When it begins to get active, then it becomes Shakti. In fact, the Shaktas say that Shiva, without the E of Shakti, is Shava, which corpse. I'm sure the ladies will be very happy with this. Huh? So, so, so Shiva is the quiet, calm, tranquil, primordial existence, which when one touches, Shankar Bhagavad-pada proclaims, Siddhananda Rupam, Shivoham, Shivoham. It is the same Shankara who also wrote the Saundarya Lahari, where he describes the ascent of that Shakti who is dancing on the chest of Shiva, lying prone, as in Dakshineshwar. Dakshineshwar, Bhadrakali is represented. In Tantra, the primordial energy is classified into 10 different levels called the Dasha Mahavidyas. And among the Dasha Mahavidyas, the first is Bhadrakali, the active energy. It's a dangerous energy, active energy. Like any other reform, it is dangerous. And anyone who really is ready to break down everything and embrace the Supreme only should touch that manifestation called Bhadrakali. Because she is shown as the reality of life. Tongue is out, blood is dripping. We can't sweep things under the rug. It's the reality. And her hair is untied. Mukta Keshin. Her hair is completely free according to the Tantra. Karala Vadanam Ghoram Mukta Keshim Chadurbhujam. 4 arms. Kalikam Dakshinam Divyam Hundamala Vibhushitam. One who has the necklace of human heads on her neck. So unless and until one is that kind of a sadhak like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, who is ready to give his head also as part of the garland on Kali's neck, it's not such an easy thing to approach in that way. It's a severe way of approaching the reality. But of course, it is the most dangerous and at the same time the most powerful shock that one can get, like catching a live wire in your bare hands. So, this is why Shiva is represented as lying down in an inactive state, while the active energy is Kali dancing on him. The blood that flows is the blood that you see in life. What do we say? Something is very important. How do we describe it? That is the life blood of something. You say that, right? So that's what it means. And it's also the representation of the Kundalini when it is awakened. And unless one is very careful, it can cause immense harm because it is a tremendous energy for which the body and mind has to be prepared. Unfortunately, it's become very cheap today. I'm very worried about that. So, this is the sacredness, and that's the experience I had in Dakshineshwar. Yes. Now, let me continue. Sorry to interrupt, because don't think that that is the only manifestation of primordial energy. The Dasha Mahavidyas also have Shanta Devtas. That means peaceful manifestations. I would suggest that people start from the peaceful manifestations and not jump into the Kali aspect, It's that which destroys everything. So don't pretend that you are Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and go before Kali, take away everything. I want only you. And when she starts jerking the rug from under your feet, you say, give me back everything, sorry. So don't touch. Leave it aside. I want to tell you a story. There was this old lady, grandmother, who used to go to the Kali temple every day and pray loudly so that her daughter-in-law and everybody can hear what she's saying. She used to go and say, oh mother, take me away. Why are you keeping me here? I'm so old. Take me to your heart and so on. So this priest who was there, he knew the hypocrisy of this whole drama going on, you know. So one day he went and stood behind Kali with two hands. Like, you know, there are many hands, several hands, so in between two more doesn't make any difference. So he stood there, and this lady came and said, oh mother, take me away. I'm going to die. What is the use? I'm so old, and so on. So two hands of Kali said, come. This story is from Kerala, so it said, wow, so come. Do you think what would have been the reaction? Lady ran for her life. She said, I'm not ready. Who will look after my grandchildren? So one has to be, even in spiritual life, estimate where we stand and how to proceed instead of taking extreme steps. Grow gradually. There are other Mahavidyas like Rajarajeshwari, Tripura Sundari. Beautiful. Worship that and move towards that. Or there is Shanta Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati. Yes. We need not suddenly jump into the battlefield. If you're ready, it's okay. But then remember, there's a knife in the hand, dagger held up, a sword, which cuts the ego into two. The shortest cut is to cut the ego into two. It is the most difficult step.
Yeah. So if you come with us, then we can all go to Dakshineshwar. That's what you're saying.
You want to come to Dakshineshwar? You can go to Dakshineshwar even without me, but don't commit the folly of going there and saying, oh mother, take everything away.
So just a follow-up question on the samadhi itself. So the Patanjali Yoga Sutra talks about sampragnata and asampragnata samadhi.
Yes.
Going through each of the koshas.
Yes.
And so my question was whether, so then he talks about dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So the description of sampragnata, is it just a theoretical exercise in the sutras, just using dharana, dhyana, samadhi? Are there any practices that takes you through sampragnata and asampragnata samadhi?
No.
What's the mechanism?
No. The description of asamprajnata, prajnata, savikalpa, nirvikalpa, and so on, which is there in the Yoga Sutras.
Yeah.
It's basically a description of the different states of samadhi. There is no mechanism of dharana, dhyana there applied to each. When you say savikalpa or samprajnata, that means there are still some seeds of thought out there, some seeds of desire. It may be desire for freedom also in a subtle form, but it's still there. The seeds are there. When the vikalpas are totally removed, then it becomes nirvikalpa. There are no more kalpa. So what happens according to the Yoga Sutras, if you're going by the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, the Yoga Darshanas, then what they're trying to say is that the mind, which has many desires, of course, and which has found out that the greatest desire that one should have is to find the Purusha, the pure, which is Kaivalya. So when this is understood, then the mind has done its work. Then the mind realizes that its existence is basically to discover the Purusha and not for anything else. Otherwise we think the mind is for something else. No, the primary reason for the existence of the mind is to ultimately realize the Purusha. When the mind realizes this, and there are no more seeds left, it's all gone, then it is Nirvikalpa Samadhi. But in Dharana, Dhyana and Samadhi, in general, there is no specific technique to change Samprajnata Samadhi into Asamprajnata Samadhi. It's a question of maturing and growing, that's all. But Dhyana, Dharana are all the same. Same meaning, the terms are same. And depending on your personal teacher, he or she may give you different ways of dharana dhyana. Actually, if you give dharana is enough because it culminates in dhyana, and continuous dhyana finally reaches samadhi.
Thank you very much. That answers the question.
But it's 1 hour over, Ramji.
Yeah.
So
So we do.
we need to wind up now. Huh?
Thank you. Yeah.
While we wind up, make sure that the energy that is wound up is released at the bottom of the spine. So we'll meet again. We'll have another interaction if there are more questions. I'm sure there are.
Yeah.
Or maybe next year we'll actually meet. And sometimes it's easier to, when somebody has a spiritual question, to go near and give a knock on the head rather than speak and try to discuss. You know, it works very well. Friendly knock, okay? Not. Okay. Thank you very much, all of you. Enjoyed the satsang, I hope, and thought about it. All this is food for thought, remember. I'm not giving you any ready-made answers, but this is food for thought. Think about it. Huh? Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Thank you.